So I want to talk about a past employer that I had, which was actually a contracted employer who is not at fault for the situation, but the person who hired my contract, which is Elisa Vale. I'm sorry, Eliso Laguna Mercedes. Um, Pretty much they hired me. I worked about 2 days. I was there with little instructions from the employer to the task in which I was supposed to be doing. There was one particular girl in the front desk area who was a very heavy set. And before we get into this whiny stuff about using description words, because even in a book, we use description words to describe people. So heavy set is one of the words that is very often used. So a very heavy set Asian girl who worked the front desk, who was rude, disrespectful, oftentimes snobby, and made it very difficult to work there. I asked her about the dress code policy because she was helping train individuals, and I guess she worked in the position previously, which is not an inappropriate question at all. The dress code, if there was a booklet on the dress code on how we're supposed to dress on the first day. Not again, an inappropriate question, which it was not. And then, so I worked quite some time. I was told to take a break. She accused me of taking multiple breaks, which was also not true. I was not on a time clock. They have not given me the number yet. So when I was working there, I had asked for the time clock number, and they didn't make it a priority. Um, so that day concluded. I got majority of the tasks done. I was dusting. I was wiping walls on the facility. I was doing the garbages, what have you. There was actually I lasted 3 days, I think. So some of the employees I barely interacted with. There was one girl I did interact with, and she was the type who was flirting with the other men, um, just doing standard girl stuff, flirting, and she was like throwing stuff back and forth with a guy from the rental department who was actually really nice, but the girl was she was the type for like, how dare you talk to me, because you're so below me, because you're the janitorial staff, so how dare you talk to me kind of girl. um so she went and tattled to my boss that I spoke to her while I was cleaning the room, and cleaning her desk, which was one of my job tasks. um and she just started talking down to me like I was the wait staff or the janitorial staff. Um, at first it was cordial, then it turned around to her going and blabbing and tattling on me. Um, so, anyways, that concluded. I came back another day. I lasted a whole day of cleaning. Um, there was another employee that was working there who was apparently called and let go by the manager. So I was cleaning, I was doing the garbages. It was like my second or third day of training. There was a guy who was driving me around who had back problems, and some of the guys made it more difficult on him. And he was very monolingual. Um, or some of the other employees were monolingual, so they put him with me because he spoke the most English. And they just started uh, kind of bullying me, putting me down because I was white. And disrespecting me. I noticed that there was no girl mechanics when I was cleaning the women's restroom. And when I was cleaning the men's restroom, which I was doing based on previous instructions and doing it well, um, which I did not get any complaints about my cleaning. I came back one day and he had found my key set, and my key set had a rainbow band on it. It was the day before St. Patrick's Day. And so he handed it to me like he found it, which I think he went and told the manager and showed them. And she was probably a religious woman who felt it was in her best interest to get rid of liberals who are willing to speak out against her. Um, so pretty much the day was near the end. Um, I went up to speak to her because some of the staff was mocking my Catholic faith and also my LGBTQ status or assumptions of. I didn't out myself. I wasn't speaking to anybody about my sexuality. Um, and so I went up to talk to the HR and my manager. They automatically accused me of just being freaky looking, and just saying that I was a creeper or whatever. Not speaking to people. I have autism, so it's not unusual for a person with communication disabilities to just remain quiet, not have a lot of conversations. On top of that, I didn't want to get into a position where my mouth got me in trouble because that girl was already tattled on me. And I think they felt like it was how dare this male speak to a female situation. Had no interest in her, had no interest besides being friendly and communicative towards her as a coworker. Mentioned nothing about her in any unusual or disgusting way. Um, she just had a problem with me communicating with her. So when I asked manager, she took me down to speak to another manager, buddying up the buddy system. And she told me that, you weren't supposed to come in today. And she apparently called me, which I got no call, and told me that she called my employer and told me that I had to not show up because I was no longer under contract with them. And Matt Mescal, the other woman is named Angelina. Matt Mescal told me, well, that was the beauty of my contract, is because we were disposable, because we weren't hired under their corporation. So our contract was disposable, and they can decide what they see fit to decide what they do with our contract when they see fit. And I said, there's laws, and there's anti-discrimination laws and all that stuff that you can't do these certain things to us. They were obviously tolerating their employees being discriminatory, and they just didn't like that somebody spoke out against some of their employees, which is, again, protected under employment laws. So they told me to get my stuff. I got my stuff. The employee who reported me for having a rainbow keychain, was acting unusual, like he was excited that I got let go for having to grab my stuff. I mean, obviously they can't hold my stuff hostage. They can't keep it from me. That would be my wallet and my keys. So then the manager followed me around like I was a criminal. I told him that he didn't need to follow me. I knew where I was going and I knew where I had to go. I was obviously parked in the side area. Um, Again, I showed up on time. They didn't give me a time clock. They never told me that I wasn't supposed to be working. I worked a full day shift. Um, I mean, they could have told me right there at the beginning and brought me into the office and said, hey, this is going on, but they didn't. It was not until I complained about her. When I first went there, the first question she asked is if both my ears were pierced. So obviously, this was a person who was a pierced, who didn't believe men should have their ears pierced. She often accused me of being a bad look, um, just because I was a disabled man that was working and employed under them. So she oftentimes accused me of being a bad look. When I tried to complain on Yelp, they flagged it and automatically removed my complaints. They had their team continuously flag my accounts, and disrespect me, violating my First Amendment rights to free press, free speech, and free expression. That includes having a rainbow keychain, which is not against their policy. They were putting out newspapers that had um, pride stuff for so their guests to read, and their Mercedes stuff. But this one Asian girl just continued to slander me and disrespect me, and made numerous complaints about me having multiple breaks, which was again not true. Um, Now, my trainer, who was supposed to be with me at all times, was sometimes not apparent or not around. So there was times where I had to stand around waiting for him, and which I mentioned to her, because again, she used to work the position. She was previously, she went from janitorial up to secretary, which I assume that they did because she was a woman. Um, and they didn't seem to put men in those positions, just like they had a lot of sexist hiring positions where men were mechanics. But you didn't see a lot of female mechanics, and none of the lockers were being used. Beliefs probably held by the managers themselves, who are very sexist. Um, I am protected under my First Amendment rights of free press to expose the lies and the disgust of this facility. Um, and I will continue to keep up my YouTube channel, even though they will probably flag it. And it is within my legal rights and my first constitutional rights to express myself and also to handle and address the lies. They obviously told me that I was disposable. Not only that, they called my contractor, the person that I was hired under, hiring company, and told them to fire me. They falsely accused me of threatening to get aggressive with the manager, which I did not. Asserting my rights under the state laws does not constitute aggression in any shape and form. So yeah, they told people a bunch of lies. They told them that they should fire me from my hiring agency. My hiring agency called me and asked me to address that, and I said I didn't threaten them. I didn't say anything that was not within my legal rights, and I also told her that they said that our company was disposable and that they felt like they can fire us whenever they feel fit. And that was the beauty of our company, that they go through these agencies to hire people that they're not connected to their company and just fire them when they feel like it. for any reason, whatever, which they're asserting the rights that companies have the right to let go of any employees, any shape and form at any time they feel fit, which was ridiculous. I mean, although they do have that right, that was not it was clearly the intent they felt to get rid of wokeness. Seeing a rainbow keychain, they felt like it was in their best interest because I might have been part of the community. So they wanted to get rid of wokeness out of their community because they thought it was a toxicity. Again, I didn't really speak to anybody in any shape and form besides that. I told the previous employee that I used to clean, clean boats and clean for the mouse, and that was not an inappropriate question because she was asking me in my previous employment. Um, and so she kind of inferred more information about it. And then she went and told the managers, which again is retaliation because no employer is allowed to, in any shape and form, um, discriminate against somebody's past legal history, including filing complaints about other managers or companies. So it's against employment laws and it's anti-retaliation laws. So this particular girl just felt, disgusted. How dare I tell her about this? Because she was playing devil's advocate and went and told on me, which is tattling and it's not an inappropriate question in the terms of, or not an appropriate conversation. She just wanted to get me out there because she felt like it was going to be a problem for them in the future. So Angelina Spain was also not manager. She was executive operations employee. So I guess she handled all the paperwork and she did hiring the outside contracted employees. But she wasn't part of the management team unless she was advanced management. Um, Matt Mascal was also not a manager. He was part of the let me look here. He was a service advisor, just like everybody else, but I guess he was more of a lead than anything. But she chose him to back her up while she made this, inappropriate conversations and commentary to me. She was a nasty, disgusting, rude woman who thought she was better than everybody. She was having flirtatious moments with Matt, and they were flirting with each other, which I noticed seemed to be a little bit inappropriate work conversations. But, in those situations, I guess it's okay. But if, a gay dude were to speak to another woman, apparently that was considered a no to them to sit there and contact my manager and have me fired. Um, so Nicole Stites, who was the guest relations, who she was speaking to, was accusing me of being creepy and weird for having autism and um, trying to figure out what I was supposed to be doing because they obviously weren't um, relaying information to me as they were supposed to be doing, and it's required under OSHA law to tell me my job task and line it out for me. Also, it was understandable that within 2 or 3 days, I would under be informed of the information that I was supposed to be doing as the training. Duke Malton was also one of the service advisors who constantly was he was watching me like a hawk. He was saying homophobic slurs about me. said he was so afraid that he felt like he would never get in trouble, because he had it so in tight with the team there. Um, so anybody doing service there, I would watch out for him. He's obviously one of those stingy salespeople that you clearly don't want to interact with. If you're LGBTQ, he probably give you a bad deal or try to con you into something. Um, this team is the few members in this team, the ones discussed, are just very corrupt and very inappropriate, and they will do illegal conduct to you, and then try to pin all this bull crap on you that is clearly not substantiated, and or just fabricate lies about you in order to cover up their inappropriate work conduct.